So cultural stereotyping of our roles have actually kept women in their place more often than not. Thirdly, the laws. We have civil laws and we have the Sharia law. This is how most of the world functions. Civil law tends to recognize violence a little bit more openly. In certain countries, Sharia law recognizes violence from a different place. And it comes from a place of an interpretation of the religion in some countries. Let me do a caveat there. Sharia law is not universally applied in the same way in all countries. It depends on how different countries apply Sharia law. For example, in Singapore, Sharia law deals primarily with family issues, inheritance, but in Malaysia it takes on criminal issues and can, as you would have read in the papers recently, even cane a woman for drinking. Right? So when you have laws that function that way, when you have cultural conditioning through the lens of culture, then you have conditioning which is also affected, interplays both ways through the sex that you have been born into. It is very easy to understand why women underreport rapes, why women will even further underreport marital rapes, and why for guys, they do know what they are doing. I heard this discussion, we need to educate men. I find that difficult to believe that a man does not know that it is alien to his psyche to rape a woman. He knows that he knows what he's doing is wrong. We don't need to put our energies into educating men to make them realize that raping a woman is wrong. But I think we need to put our energies into the next part of what I'm talking about, recognizing that all of us, why has this been happening to a woman for so long? Because we have failed to recognize that a woman at the end of the day is a human being. That's all that there is to this. If one can recognize her as a human being, to rape her will not even be in your equation. Whatever one is coping with, one will look for another solution. And if you do not recognize, for example, in homosexual relationships where rapes also take place, it's the same phenomena. You haven't recognized the other person as a human being. It is another object, another whatever to you that you feel you can put your power and control over that other person. So, if we do recognize that this is a human being at the end of the day, I think we will be able to realign perhaps our thinking and also learn how to deal with this situation in perhaps through a new lens. And how do we know that everyone is the same? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 1, which was a 1948 document, and marital and rape laws and all that came into more effect in a bigger way in the 1970s. Universal Declaration came into effect as a value system guideline in 1948. That all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And Article 4 states, no one shall be held in slavery or servitude. This is a value system. Whatever cultural background, whatever opinions we have over issues, if one can just align our value system to such a declaration, that I think we can change the way we look at each other. The second part of it is there is a protection instrument called CEDAW, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. There are many articles in this huge document, and it is designed to help countries to look at their local laws, to realign again so that we all come up with a universal norm. There are enough clauses in CEDAW that again can help countries place, like Singapore that has just amended 2008, where the immunity under marriage against rape is concerned. And now we are only in partial immunity. As Professor Chan has brought it up, are we in a good place? Are we happy with that? Let us look at CEDAW. Article 10H says, take all appropriate measures to eliminate discrimination against women in the field of healthcare in order to ensure, on the basis of equality of men and women, access to healthcare services, including those related to family planning. B. Take all appropriate measures, Article 12.1, to eliminate discrimination against women in all areas in order to assure that they have access to justice, counseling services, etc., etc. And take Article 14.2b. Take all appropriate measures to eliminate discrimination against women in all matters relating to marriage and family relations, and in particular, ensure that this is done on the basis of equality between men and women. Singapore is a signatory to CEDAW with 2 reservations, and sadly, one of those reservations is on the last article that I read, Article 16, which relates a lot to family law issues, family. So, are we then in a good place, recognizing that a woman is a human being unto herself, knowing that we have international norms, knowing that at a personal level we have to do some of our own, rethinking about my personal value system, for example. Are we happy? Are we okay with this partial immunity? Is this fair to women? There's a lot of discussion here about the sentence for that one case being 18 months, whereas if it was outside of a marriage, it can be anything from 10 to 20 years, and I think even with strokes of the cane. Can one even envision a husband getting strokes and getting 10 to 20 years? Is that what we want of husbands? Can we compare these two on the same platform? A rape, a stranger rape, a rape within a marriage. Let's go back to how we have been perceiving marriage. It's an institution that is supposed to be honorable. Yet if rape takes place in such an institution, which is the more severe of the crime? And yet there's partial immunity, and yet the sentence is lighter. Are we really happy with that? Question 1. Question 2. Our lifestyles are changing. There are people who live in gay relationships. Do we not want to protect them? Do they not matter? Because, sorry mate, you are not in this realm of our discussion. Should we be thinking about them? Rapes do take place between 2 homosexual men. Rapes might even be taking place among lesbians when it comes to object penetration. I wouldn't know. Maybe it does. We all do not know because all these things are not discussed. Lastly, are we going to recognize rapes in long-term relationships? Many people prefer a cohabitation model, but still majority marry. That's good by national policy. Nevertheless, lifestyle choices do include long-term partnership. What are we going to do about the long-term partnership? Are we not going to recognize that group? So this whole question about immunity needs to be more thoroughly discussed in the frame of our larger national policy